Breaking the law is wrong, but we are governed by consent. And it may be that the war on the motorist is breaking that consent. A police investigation has revealed that an estimated 2 million people could be doctoring their number plates to avoid ULEZ and speeding fines. Apparently, on the internet, you can buy fake number plates for as little as £10. This is straightforwardly illegal, don't be any doubt about that. But you can also buy what is known as reflective stealth tape that makes the plates invisible to ULEZ or speeding cameras. Perhaps the breakdown of consent is coming because the laws are too onerous. When you repeatedly make motorists' lives more difficult by forcing them to pootle along at 20 miles an hour on an empty road in the middle of the night, or indeed impoverish them by charging them £12.50 every day for driving an older vehicle, is it surprising that this leads to civil disobedience, which is nonetheless criminal? Apparently the Home Secretary is under pressure to tackle this problem, but I have a feeling she may be rather busy with the migrant crisis first. Anyway, who better to discuss this with than Nick Freeman, Mr. Loophole himself, the motoring law expert. Nick, thank you as always for joining me. It's very clear, isn't it, that putting on somebody else's number plate or a number plate that has the letters the wrong way around is straightforwardly illegal. What about putting a see-through cover that doesn't distort the numbers and letters for ordinary vision but does for cameras? Is that legal or illegal?
Illegal. If you tamper with your number plate in any respect to try and avoid the consequence of going through a camera or attempting to go to the court, and if you're caught, you will be interviewed, you'll be charged, and you can expect a custodial sentence.
So it's a really stupid thing to do because you go from a risk of 3 points or a modest fine to potentially a jail sentence if you muddle with your a number plate to avoid justice.
Absolutely. I mean, you may recall the case of Freeman and his wife who just lied about who was driving. It was a straightforward three-pointer. They both went to prison. So I think people don't realise how serious number plate tampering or being dishonest in relation to simple matters such as who was driving is. The courts deal with it very strictly. Because basically we are reliant on robotical policing now, and the public are expected to go along with it. And in my view, obviously, it will be extremely foolish for anyone to tamper with a number plate because they're going to land themselves eventually in very deep water. The authorities will catch up with them.
But this is the problem, isn't it? That it seems as if the law has become so draconian that the consent for it is breaking down, that whereas 30 years ago, before there were speed cameras, this didn't happen. People accepted that if they were stopped by the police, if they were pulled over, it was essentially fair. But with hundreds of thousands of fines being issued automatically, with no real court process involved, aren't people beginning to think that it is no longer fair and that the government by consent is crucial to a law-abiding society?
Yes, you're absolutely right. It used to be perceived as fair game. And of course, if you were stopped for speeding, 30 years ago or even less than that, an officer would exercise his discretion and you may get a warning. And you drive off having been given that warning, and you tend to drive carefully for some time. Now it's robotical. The cameras are literally everywhere. As you say, the speed limits are coming down to a level which the motorist doesn't really understand. And then when you couple that with ULEZ, congestion charges, and then couple that with the fact that we are living in largely a decriminalised society, unless you're a motorist, the motorist feels, I think, now that it's going or it's gone too far, and they're beginning to resist the law. They're beginning to take the matter into their own hands because they say it's too much.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've still got my panel with me, author and trade union activist